Every day, without even realizing it, you're doing small things that are slowly making you less intelligent. Want to know which daily habits are quietly lowering your IQ? One of the most subtle but damaging habits that chips away at your intelligence is the tendency to consume information passively instead of actively. It happens so quietly that you don't even recognize it as a problem. You scroll through hours of videos, skim endless posts, let podcasts play in the background while you're doing something else, and convince yourself that because you're taking in information, you're learning. But passive consumption is like pouring water into a cup that has no bottom. Nothing stays. When your brain is constantly fed information without being asked to process it, question it, or engage with it, it learns to operate in a low-effort state. It starts preferring quick hits of stimulation over the slower, richer work of deep thinking. The brain is designed to grow stronger through challenge, through friction, through effort. But if your daily habits revolve around effortless content, you train your mind to become comfortable with superficial engagement. This leads to shorter attention spans, reduced memory retention, and a noticeable decline in critical thinking. Think about the last time you watched a video and immediately realized you couldn't recall anything that was said. It wasn't because the information wasn't valuable. It was because your brain was never asked to interact with it. Active engagement, on the other hand, forces your mind to stretch. When you pause to take a note, summarize an idea in your own words, discuss it with someone, or even simply stop and reflect on what you heard, you transform information from noise into knowledge. Your brain begins to connect ideas, recognize patterns, and store concepts with purpose. This is how intelligence compounds, not by the quantity of information you consume, but by the quality of your engagement with it. The danger of passive consumption becomes even more pronounced when it replaces meaningful mental effort. Instead of reading deeply, we skim. Instead of thinking through problems, we look for quick answers. Instead of forming our own opinions, we adopt whatever is most popular or easiest to digest. Over time, this erodes the mental muscles responsible for reasoning and originality. You may feel busy, informed, even entertained, but none of that translates into intellectual growth. It's like watching someone else exercise and expecting your own body to get stronger. Even worse, passive consumption often disguises itself as productivity. Educational videos, motivational clips, and informative podcasts can all be valuable, but only if you engage with them deliberately. Without intention, they become just another form of mental junk food, stimulating in the moment but nutritionally empty. And like junk food, the more you consume, the more you crave, and the harder it becomes to return to richer, more challenging mental activities. Your brain adapts to whatever you repeatedly do, and if you repeatedly do nothing but absorb information without interacting with it, your intelligence gradually dulls. The good news is that the solution doesn't require drastic changes. It simply requires participation. Ask questions while you learn, write down insights, pause content to think. Engage your mind on purpose. Intelligence grows where effort is applied, and even small acts of active learning can reverse years of passive habits. Another everyday habit that quietly lowers your intelligence is chronically cutting your sleep short and trying to compensate with stimulants. Many people don't realize how deeply sleep affects their cognitive abilities because the decline happens slowly, almost invisibly. You stay up a little later to finish work, wake up earlier than your body wants, and tell yourself you'll catch up later. But the brain doesn't work like that. Each night of limited sleep chips away at your ability to think clearly, solve problems, remember information, and regulate emotions. It doesn't hit you all at once. It erodes your mental sharpness grain by grain. When you repeatedly deprive yourself of sleep, your brain struggles to consolidate memories, which means the things you learn don't stick. Your attention becomes scattered, your reaction time slows, and your creativity drops. Tasks that once felt easy suddenly feel heavier. You might find yourself rereading sentences, forgetting why you walked into a room, or losing your train of thought mid-conversation. These are not signs of aging or stress. They're signs that your brain is running on fumes. And yet, because this decline happens gradually, people often don't connect it to their sleep habits. To mask the exhaustion, many turn to caffeine or energy drinks. In moderation, caffeine can be helpful, but relying on it as a substitute for rest creates a false sense of alertness. You feel awake, but your cognitive performance remains compromised. It's like turning up the radio volume in a broken car. You can hear the music, but the engine is still failing. Overusing stimulants disrupts your natural sleep rhythms even further. making it harder to fall asleep at night, which leads to an even greater dependence on them the next day. It becomes a quiet cycle that slowly drains your mental capacity. What makes this pattern particularly dangerous is that society often celebrates it. People brag about surviving on 4 hours of sleep or powering through the day with multiple coffees, as if it's a sign of dedication or resilience. But the truth is, chronic sleep restriction diminishes your ability to function at your best. It lowers your emotional intelligence, making you more reactive and less patient. It weakens decision-making, leaving you more prone to impulsive choices. It limits creativity because a tired brain struggles to form new connections. In short, you may be awake, but you're not fully alive mentally. The solution isn't complicated, but it does require intention. Prioritizing sleep means treating it like a non-negotiable part of your daily routine instead of something you squeeze in when everything else is done. It means recognizing that rest is not wasted time. It is fuel for intelligence. When you consistently give your brain the sleep it deserves, you'll notice your thinking becoming sharper, your memory clearer, and your mind more resilient. Ending with simple truth: protecting your sleep is protecting your intelligence. One of the most common habits that slowly lowers your intelligence is the belief that multitasking makes you more productive. In reality, multitasking does not expand your mental capacity, it fractures it. Every time you bounce between apps, check notifications while talking to someone, or attempt to work on multiple tasks at once, your brain is forced into rapid task switching. And while this might feel efficient, your brain pays a steep price. It never truly settles into deep focus, never fully absorbs information, and never reaches the level of clarity required for strong problem solving. Over time, this constant fragmentation weakens the very cognitive processes you rely on to think intelligently. The human brain is not wired to perform multiple demanding tasks simultaneously. It simply toggles between them, losing time and mental energy with each switch. Even brief interruptions, like glancing at a message, can leave a residue that pulls part of your attention away long after you put your phone down. When this happens dozens or even hundreds of times per day, the cumulative effect is profound. You may notice that it becomes harder to concentrate for long stretches, harder to remember things you just learned, and harder to think through complex ideas without your mind wandering. This isn't a personal flaw, it's the natural consequence of training your brain to exist in a permanent state of distraction. What makes this especially harmful is that constant task switching rewires your brain. It conditions you to crave quick bursts of stimulation rather than sustained mental effort. Instead of diving deeply into a single project, your mind starts looking for the next distraction. Instead of reflecting, you refresh your notifications. Instead of thinking something through, you skim. This shift chips away at your ability to engage in deep work, the kind of thinking that strengthens intelligence. Over time, the brain adapts to the environment you create for it, and an environment full of interruptions teaches the mind to become shallow. This habit also drains your mental stamina. Switching tasks burns glucose at a faster rate, leaving you mentally exhausted even when you haven't done meaningful work. You might find yourself feeling tired earlier in the day, struggling to stay organized, or feeling overwhelmed by simple tasks that used to feel manageable. These are signs that your mental bandwidth has been stretched thin. And while many people assume the solution is better time management or more motivation, the real solution is reclaiming your focus. Focusing on one task at a time may sound simple, but it requires discipline in a world designed to pull your attention in every direction. It means silencing unnecessary notifications, setting clear work periods, and protecting pockets of uninterrupted time. When you do this consistently, something powerful happens. Your concentration strengthens, your memory improves, and your thinking becomes sharper and more original. Your brain finally gets the space it needs to perform at its highest level. Ending with the simple truth: protecting your focus is protecting your intelligence.